Today we're going to be talking about how to go beyond the trusted advisor.
'Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson and this is episode number 9. Today we're going to be talking about how to go beyond the trusted advisor. And obviously we're going to be talking about what does it mean to be a trusted advisor in the first place. Now, if you haven't been on this podcast before, I'd love you to check out the other episodes. Make sure you subscribe because we're going to be coming live with multiple episodes a month. So we're looking at an episode every single week that is all about how to evolve, how to enhance, how to increase your consulting business. Now, the outcome of any of these sessions is really to understand that a consulting business, unlike most other businesses, is really a lifestyle business. It's a business that you can actually build a lifestyle around. You can decide in your consulting practice whether you want to be working 3 days a week, 4 days a week. You may be happy with 5 days a week, but this is the thing, you get to decide. And that's what's great about being a consultant. It usually means that you've come through life a little bit. You've got some expertise. You've now developed these models, these frameworks, these processes to help other people get what they want. And often that's transformational work. Sometimes it's going from where they are to where they want to be. But in doing so, you enable you to create so much more value than many other businesses. So, there are businesses out there that are selling products. That there are businesses out there selling services, but you are selling expertise, which means that you have such a great opportunity now, probably more than ever, to build the business of your dreams. And by that, I mean a business that not only enables you to make the money that you want, but it also enables you to work in the way that you want. So really what we're going to be talking about in this podcast and what we continue to talk about in this podcast is how to design on purpose, how to actually design a business that gives us a lifestyle that we want, how to design a business that gives us the work that we love doing, how to design a business that enables us to work with people that we love working with, and at the end of the day being paid valuable amounts of cash for valuable amounts of outcomes. Now, the interesting thing, over the last 26 years that I've been in business and doing this sort of work, the areas in particular that I've seen move, especially in the sales, marketing and promotional spaces, have been quite dramatic to land us in a place of very outcome-based focused work, which is great because the outcome-based focused work is the stuff that gets the highest value from clients. Now, you may speak to all sorts of different clients. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're speaking to business clients, corporations, non-for-profits, organizations of any sort, or even individuals. Outcomes are really where it's at. Now, back in the 90s, let's start back there. We'll go all the way back to the 90s. It was very much at that time solutions. Without a solution, if you were not a solution provider, then people were a little bit skeptical that you knew what you were doing. And so you needed to have a solution for people to really take you seriously. Now, funnily enough, that has changed. And I'm so glad that it has changed too, because really all a solution is your vehicle to get people from where they are to where they want to be. And most of the time when people are in a place that they're not happy with, when they want to go to a place that they would love, they don't really care what vehicle gets them there. So it's no longer about the solution. And for those who are old enough to remember that whole solution provider stage of business, the thing has moved. The world has changed. Clients and customers have got more sophisticated in the way they want to buy, and it's far less about how you deliver what you do and the fact that you actually do get the result. Right, so we moved in the 90s from this very solution-based focused work to then find ourselves in a situation where it was more about sizzle. And that's where the marketers really took over, and it was about selling the sizzle, not the steak. And if anybody's ever heard me talk about that, you know that I always found it difficult to sell without any visual on what was actually sizzling. So you do need the steak. And when people started to realize that it wasn't just about spin, it wasn't just about sizzle, they really wanted to start trusting in the brands that they were working with. They wanted to trust in the providers that they were engaging. And that's when it started to move to features and benefits. So yes, here's the thing we have, but this is the benefit of it. And that really started to come through around 2010, or on the way to 2010 after the global economic collapse. Things started to be, all right, what is the feature, what is the benefit? Now, we've always talked about features and benefits, but there's been this sort of change in the way that people market things. And so very much, this is when the place was very much talking about, the space was very much talking about the trusted advisor. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But before we do, the features and benefits are just a very small part of things now. And sometimes you don't even have to mention the features and benefits of what you're selling, as long as you get very, very clear about the outcomes that people want. And so after 2010, obviously the world has changed. Things have moved, and we're very much finding ourselves in the 2020s being in this space where people want what they want. They've had Simon Sinek push why down their throat, and I've always been cynical of Simon, but it's interesting to see now that he's now talking about corporations who are over-promising things. They're going out of their way to be socially responsible on one hand and then employee-focused on the other, and they're giving all these employee benefits and trying to make it a great place to work, and then hybrid working opportunities, people being able to work from home. And he's saying, these corporations are promising too much. But it was interesting how a lot of that happened off the trend of him forcing companies, and by forcing I mean just like starting this movement of employees wanting to work for their why. It's incredible to actually see how many businesses bent over backwards to do that, and now he's going, that it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Well, Simon, you're one of the causes of that. And, it's not about blame. It's not about pushing that, you are the one who did it. But it was interesting to see how people grasped onto that concept without actually thinking about the consequences at the end of the day. So I've said for decades now, your brand is, the way that you can look at your brand is by the promises that you break, right? Not the promises that you keep, the promises that you break. And so if you're out there over-promising, guess what? Your brand becomes a result of that. So brand marketing, it has been very important. A lot of people have been thinking that it is the be-all and end-all, but a lot of the time, it's not about that brand that you're putting out there, but more so about the things that you're actually doing internally. How do you keep the promises that you make, or how do you not keep those promises? And so it's very much around trust. And the trusted advisor has come out of that situation. Now, there's been trusted advisors for eons, and so we're not saying that this is a completely new idea. But the trusted advisor in any industry is, I like to think of it this way. The trusted advisor is the person that you ask for their advice outside of their area of expertise. So let's say that you've got a doctor, right? And you really trust this guy. He is your trusted advisor, or she is your trusted advisor. And so you might ask her, by the way, my daughter's getting married. Do you know of any good receptions? Some place that maybe we could have a good wedding reception at. Now, that's asking for advice outside of their area of expertise. And if you've been in consulting for any good period of time, you will have had those situations where people have trusted that that all your advice is going to be valuable rather than just your expertise style advice. So beyond the trusted advisor becomes, what happens after? Is there another place? Well, for many years, people have thought that the trusted advisor is the pinnacle of consulting, that the trusted advisor is the pinnacle of advice. It's the top level. But I'm suggesting that it's only halfway. And in fact, in this day and age, if you're not the trusted advisor, then ideally it's going to be very, very difficult to have people not just say yes to you in the first place in the sales process, but then actually say yes to your suggestions afterwards. Now, what I love about advice is it is about helping people make decisions. It's about helping people take steps. And so your ability to be persuasive, your ability to sell, in other words, serve people in a way that's going to help them get to the next step, you need to be good at sales in order to help them after the sale is made. So there's actually 7 steps that I look at, half of them being on the way to the trusted advisor, the others after the trusted advisor when things become just far more fun. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's get into it. How do you even start the journey of becoming a trusted advisor? Let's say that you're new to consulting. Maybe you've been in a corporate role. You've got expertise. You've been doing what you've been doing for a while. And now you want to step into a space where ideally maybe you're going to start your own business and you want to become this trusted advisor. And then ideally with, what I'm suggesting is that you can go beyond. So the first step is for people to start to trust you, you need to have something. Now, I was very good at what I did for over a decade before I realized this, but it made a massive difference to my conversion rates on people saying yes to me. Number one is you need to have a process. You need to have, ideally, a sales process, a process to help people get from where they are to where they want to be. If you don't have that process, their trust in you just depends on whether they think you can or cannot do the role. Once you bring a process in and actually showing them that there is a path that you've trodden a number of times, they go, this person has a form of social proof through experience, and they have expertise not just in what they do, but in how they do it. And so having a process, having a sales process, having a number of steps that you will move someone through becomes foundational to becoming a trusted advisor, an ideal salesperson, and then a very good advisor on the other side of it as well, right? So what is your sales process? I'd be interested to know. Do you have a sales process? Is it a good one? Could it be improved? Or is it ideal? Is it actually very simple and intentional to move people through each of the steps to get them to their results? So number one is that. And I like to look at this as a bell curve. Now, most of you are going to be listening to this on the audio, so you might not see it. For those who are watching on the video, literally a bell curve like that. And so we're going to start over one end and we're going to work up this bell curve. Now, I say the bell curve as well because what happens is you have to put in some effort at the start to get good. But once you hit that trusted advisor position, once you're good at your process, then flowing down the other side just becomes so much easier. And for me, I think it just becomes so much more fun. So number one, do you have your process? Number two, do you have very good product IQ? Is your intelligence around what you sell very high, right? And so really, you should be able to answer sophisticatedly. I don't think that's a word, with some sophistication. Can you answer questions very well, right? So when I say product, that could mean you've got a service or an offering. It's your offer, really, IQ. Can people ask you questions and you're not stumped? Can you answer those questions there with them rather than having to go away? I've seen all sorts of sales teams where they've been in the middle of a conversation. The client's gone, I want to ask a question about this. I want to ask a question about that. And they'll go, we'll get back to you. We'll come back to you. And what that does is it reduces trust. It reduces trust that it says you don't know what you're doing. You are not the expert and you're going to have to go and speak to an expert before you can come back and actually give me the information. So getting really good in that product IQ space is essential. Now, if you're a salesperson just listening to this and wanting to be beyond the trusted advisor as an employee, my advice would be, yes, number one, get your sales process in order, but also number two, know your product, know it inside and out, know the history of it, know the case studies, know where things have gone wrong before. Understand what happens if it doesn't go right. What happens when it goes very well? What happens? What are the things that could get in the way of it being a success, right? And so you're able to answer any question that's thrown your way. So that's step number two, and that's going to get you a lot more trust. If you're answering questions with the client, they're throwing some questions at you, you're not being fazed by it, you're able to bat them back, answer those questions, it's going to be gold for your progress towards trusted. All right, so that's number two. Number three, the ability to ask great questions. So turning it all around. The person who is asking the questions is leading the conversation. And so it's great that you can answer questions. It means people throw a curly one at you and you can actually grab it. But being able to lead the discussion and ask questions, not just a random set of questions so that you can get information, but certain questions so that people go, this person understands my industry. This person actually is giving me an insight that I hadn't even considered before. So asking great questions is a fantastic step. And I like to think of Columbo as a detective. The way he asks questions, the interesting, slippery way that he asks questions is a really nice model for becoming a very good question asker. So what are the questions that you can ask to make people not only understand that you're an authority in the space, but that you have done this before, and so therefore your questions that you're asking have purpose. They're purposeful. They're intentional questions. Now, I remember working in the construction industry for quite some time, and we were selling to the construction industry. So there were many different businesses that I worked in where they had products to sell. And one of the questions I would ask into those spaces, because all these people would be selling to construction, I would say, are you doing more specifications or more alternatives right now? And what that is suggesting is that, number one, I completely understand the lingo, I understand the language that they're using internally, and therefore understand the industry. And whatever they answer back will give me great insight into how they're doing within their business as far as forward planning or playing catch up. Now, there is no wrong answer that they give me, but it gives me a lot of information. At the same time, using their language is a great way of actually building trust as well. Now, in the marketing game, we always hear a lot of don't use industry lingo. Now, on one side, you don't want to use your own industry's lingo. For instance, in the marketing space, I don't want to be talking about SEM and SEO and ROI. And yeah, I mean, ROI is not just stuck to the marketing space, but all these different acronyms and alphabetizations. We don't need to be using that stuff. We want to be talking to the clients and say, Google search ads rather than SEM, right? And I know that's not just the space of Google ads, but that just gives you some context. So when you're talking to a customer, you just want to make sure you're using their language, and you can use their lingo. And that's one of the reasons why niches are good, because you start to understand the language. You start knowing, am I talking about clients? Am I talking about customers? Am I talking about projects, jobs, contracts, gigs? There are so many different ways of framing a sale, and making sure that you're using the language that they use will actually get you there. So if you have a process that is effective, that takes people through a series of steps in a nice, efficient way that gets them from here to there, great. If you have your high product IQ, if you're able to answer questions effectively, that's going to get you a long way to trust. If you're able to ask great questions and people feel heard, they feel like you understand them, right? Then you will move to this trusted advisor space. And it won't be long before they're asking for your advice outside of your area of expertise. And it's a good little trigger to go, yep, okay, they trust me. Yeah, it's a really nice one. So you get to that point, and for a lot of people, they go, oh, well, I am king of the castle. I know what I'm doing now. I don't need to progress anymore. But here is the key. School is never out for the professional. All right, so that is the mantra to live by. If you want to actually have a life out of this business, if you want a lifestyle out of this business, then school is never out for the professional, and the professional certainly is the consultant. So how do you take steps to go from, yep, they trust me at this time, they trust me in this moment, to go to a place where basically people are coming out of the woods to go, can you please work with me? Can you please help me? And how do you get to this point really of minor celebrity within your own space? Well, there are a few more steps from there. So number one, the people in front of you trust you. You've been through a conversational process. They go, yep, this person understands me. This person is someone I'm willing to give my trust to. This person is an authority. And I'm just going to do a quick aside, because there are consultants, and this may be you, and I'm not pointing fingers necessarily, but if this is you, I'd invite you or encourage you to not feel that you have to be doing it, that are going out there on social media and they're building websites and doing all these things to prove their authority, right? They're trying to prove themselves as worthy to be selected as a consultant or a trusted advisor for their client. The reality is, if you come in using the right language, if you come in with process, if you come in with really good product IQ, and if you come in asking great questions in their language, you don't need all that authority. At best, maybe you have a LinkedIn profile so that someone can actually check in on you. It's incredible how much effort and time and money gets spent in the production of a production of a website, a look and a feel, just so that you can feel comfortable in going to market. It was a discovery I made years ago working in the design space, that a lot of salespeople, unconfident salespeople, would require a brochure to go out and speak to clients. Or worse still, the company to have to develop a new product before they actually felt like they had something worthy to discuss with the client. That means they didn't have process. That means that they didn't understand the client. They didn't have the resources to be able to have conversations, to ask great questions, to get trust, to build trust, to have trust with those clients. And so there is all this window dressing being done, and you do not need to do it if you have those three simple things. So putting that to the side, that was just a little aside, that you don't have to be out there building all this authority. You can actually become the trusted advisor without it, simply through conversational language and your ability to actually hold people's conversation, right? It's conversational. It's fantastic. I mean, this is the basis of all relationships. Being able to talk with people, being able to listen with people, being able to understand people and have them feel understood, right? So we get to this place where the trusted advisor, we step down from there. There are 3 steps that we can use to continue beyond the trusted advisor. And the first one of those is mentor. And we know that we're a mentor when people start to emulate us, the way we go about doing what we do. They start to use us as a model of how they'd like to be in the world. Now, most of that will come down to you being a professional. Now, what is being a professional? Being a professional does not mean you need to wear a suit and tie, but it does mean that you need to do a few things. Number 1, not making promises that you won't keep. Making promises that you'll keep. Being someone who can be trusted, right, to do what they say they're going to do is a really good way of continuing to cement yourself as a professional. It's incredible, actually. Years ago, I had a great mentor who helped me with a lot of my own leadership. And one of the things is he highlighted for me is you're making promises that you're not keeping. Now, I had no awareness of it. I wasn't aware that I was doing it. But once I did become aware, I became keenly aware, and not only did promises become critical for me to keep, they were already critical for me to keep, but I just had this unconscious awareness, this unconscious unawareness that I was saying things that were making promises. So to be aware that sometimes you're saying things that are making promises. You're setting expectations, even if you don't say the words "I promise." Setting an expectation that is not met is a good way to actually slide backwards away from the trusted advisor. So if you want to get to this place of mentor, understanding what professional looks like, making sure that you're showing up on time, making sure you're doing the things that you're going to say, meeting expectations. Now, part of meeting expectations is setting expectations. There was also a time in my life where I was working in web design. There were a lot of web design, marketing, there was a lot of those sort of things. And we would start a process and we would know how long a website would take to create. And so we would go along our merry way and suddenly the client would get upset. And I'm like, why are you getting upset? We're on track. But I didn't set a track. I didn't define for the client how long things would take. I didn't define for the client what to expect. And so those expectations that you set as part of the process are a really good way to actually be professional in the moment, right? So there are all sorts of little ones. There are so many different little rules and things that you can have around professionalism. One of them is to continually be developing. There's nothing worse than your client surpassing your development, because you'll lose your mentor status. You'll fall backwards. So school's never out for the professional. They continue to get better. Another little one, just speaking from a platform. If you're speaking on the stage or doing presentations, if there is a certain time where that event finishes, then that's when it finishes. If you haven't finished saying what you're saying, then you need to stop. It doesn't matter. You've got to have an expectation for people on their time. So just think in your own world. What is it? What are expectations you can set? There was a time when we were doing logos, and it sounds like I'm doing all these different things, but they all make sense if you're going from this place of advising and marketing, and some of it's done with you, some of it's done for you. And we would do these logos, and what I would send out with the first draft is an expectation. So one of 3 things is going to happen. You're either going to absolutely hate them all, which is absolutely fine, because we'll be able to pivot from that. You're going to absolutely love one, we can move forward with it. Or the other option is that going to be a combination of maybe a couple of them, and we can combine things and make some alterations. And any of those options is fine. And by setting that expectation, people are like, okay, great. So how I'm feeling right now, even if I'm not happy with any of them, is normal. This is what I should be expecting. And so setting those expectations is one of the big ones when it comes to mentor. So that's mentor. From there, we can actually go to oversubscribed. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then finally, we can get to celebrity. Now, oversubscribed really is about having too many people who want to work with you. It's about having a waiting list. Now, how do you generate a waiting list? Well, you are always doing two things. Number one, you're always connecting with new people who ideally would be the right people to work with you. They should be in your world. And number two is always having conversations with people. Now, if you are a professional who's running a professional practice, just because you're busy does not mean you're not making time to create your future. You know, the lists of the new people that ideally you're bringing into your world, you're helping them move into your world, having conversations with people who want to be working with you in ways that there are all sorts of ways that you can be working with them, that you, your team, whoever. Ideally, you want to have a waiting list of people that you can audition and decide who to work with. Now, for one of my clients, one of the things that we did is we said, all right, so there's only going to be about 4 people you're going to be working with, or 4 organizations you're going to be working with at any one time, right? Because he only wanted to be working 5 days a week. One of the days needed to be focused on developing work. And the other 4 would be client work. Now, he may have just said, I just want to work 4 days and I'll just work on these 4 clients. But what happens is if one of them leaves, suddenly 25% of his work drops, which means 25% of his income drops, which means that he's now scrambling to try and find work in the other space. So rather than going through this roller coaster ride of I've got enough work, I don't have enough work, what we actually developed is that 1 day a week he would continue to develop his practice. And so one of the steps we did is that on that other day, yes, there would be developing of the business, but there would also be strategic work. So strategic plans, strategic workshops. He would be paid nearly as much as the actual retainers that he was doing for the monthly clients he was working with, but he would only do like a once-off workshop or a once-off plan. And so he might do 4 of those in a month. Now, going through that strategic planning process enabled him to go, is this a client I want to work with? And so with one client, he would help them with the strategic planning process, and then he would either palm it off to somebody else and go, this is a person you should use for it. Or he would say, you've got the resources in your team, this is how it'll work for you. Or he would go, this is actually a piece I'd really like to work on. And he would bring it into his business. He would say, this is a piece I'll look after for you. And they go, fantastic, thank you so much. But in having that process, it creates this really nice revolving door. So you're not stuck with clients for too long because you want to get them outcomes. You don't want to be there longer than 18 months. Otherwise, you become part of the furniture. You become an employee, really. And so you want to have this process that's enabling that to happen. So if you've got a waiting list that never gets engaged into working with you, if they don't have an opportunity to work with you, that will dry up. All right. But you want to have a waiting list that you can actually use and start rotating through so that people are working with you for smaller periods of time. But it means that you get to choose them. You're oversubscribed. You have more than enough work that you could do, but you're not having to do it right now. You're just taking the pieces and rotating through these clients over time. So the oversubscribed position is a fantastic one because then people come and ask you to work with them. They're actually asking, are you available to be working with me right now, rather than them looking at 3 different providers and picking one that just happens to fit with their needs, which usually is budgetary, right? So we don't want to be stuck in the race to the bottom on the price. So that's that. What are we talking about? 6th step. And then we're going to go to the 7th, which is celebrity. Now, when I talk about celebrity, I'm not talking about this celebrity that's on Entertainment Tonight or anything of that sort. What we're talking about is a celebrity in your industry, which means that people in your industry will know you. You're probably a leader within your industry, but people outside of the industry know of you. Yeah, they know of you. And you can be a celebrity in your own town. You can be a celebrity in your own state. You can be a celebrity in your industry or in your sector. And being in that space means that you're asked to speak. You're asked to speak on platforms. You're asked to share your views. You're asked to share your insights. People want to know what you think. And what that does is it actually creates advertising that you don't need to pay for. It creates opportunities where you're in front of your ideal clients and all you're doing is sharing some ideas and people are adding themselves to your waiting list. Now, how do you get into that space? Well, ideally, you need to start sharing your thought processes. You need to start sharing about the things that you know. But the way to do that is one part network. So the people who would ask you to be on those platforms know you. All right, that's one part of the networking side of things. The other is to have an opinion. Now, if you don't have an opinion, you're not going to be a celebrity of any sort. If you don't have an opinion you're willing to share, then you will become beige and boring. Now, unfortunately, that's the way things are. Celebrities have minor celebrity or get fame simply because they've been willing, brave enough, they were courageous to go out there and make their opinions known. And that can be a scary process, right? To actually go, no, this is right, and this is what I think. And then on the flip side, to be challenged on that and grow through that, which means that your opinion can change. Your opinion should change off the back of new information that you would then bring into how you see your world in the context of your world. Now, there are all sorts of celebrities out there with all sorts of crazy opinions that I'm sure you do not agree with, but you know who they are. All right, so that's all I'm saying on that opinion side of things. If you want to be the trusted advisor who is also a celebrity within your space, you are going to find yourself in a situation where you are creating some binary relationships. People will start to love you far more, and then there'll be people who start to be negative towards you on the other side. Now, you might not want that in your life. You might not want celebrity, but the bonus of having celebrity to get to that space means suddenly you're not having to pay for your lunch. And what I mean by that is you're not having to do your own advertising. You're not having to push yourself out there. You're not having to have cold call style conversations. Everything is warm because people feel that they know you and they're inviting you in. Now, the reason I suggest it is because it just makes life so much easier. So, we start at the start. We're growing our practice. We're understanding what is the model. The model is having good process. The model is understanding that you need good product IQ. You understand your products, you can answer questions. You then need to be able to ask great questions, get to this point of trusted advisor. You know you're a trusted advisor because people ask for your opinion outside of your area of expertise. You then move to a mentor, and the way to be a mentor is be a good example to people. How can you be the best example of what you want to be for people? And so that's continuously evolving, continuous improvement, and basically school's not out for the professional. Continuing to make sure that you are engaging new people in connections and conversations. You're continuing to work your sales and marketing machine, even when you're busy. Is enables you to audition clients to get into a place where you have a waiting list. And finally, becoming a minor celebrity in your space. You're known within your industry, you may even be known outside your industry, is by having opinions that you're willing to share and be tested out there in the public. So, beyond the trusted advisor, it's a journey. It's a fascinating journey, and it's a fun journey, I think. And I think it's a really good opportunity for you continually to evolve, continuing to grow, and understanding that there are so many different levels of this as the environment changes. Because you might be a celebrity one day, suddenly you're nothing the next because you haven't evolved. You haven't actually seen what's happening out there in the world. You're not listening to the context. You're not listening to the everyman. You're not getting a sense of where people are at so that you can connect with them where you're at, where they are at, and draw them to where you are. So, beyond the trusted advisor, it's a choice. It's a good process, I think. But I invite you to consider whether it is for you. Now, if you are running a consulting business, if you are a specialist in your space and actually would like to be doing more advisory work, and you're not sure how to do that, well, you can always talk to me. And I run a program called the Forge Business School, which is very much around helping people who are experts in what they do simplify things down so that they can be getting better clients at higher fees and do that consistently. If you're interested in that, just reach out to me on any of the social media platforms. You'll be able to find me there, LinkedIn, Facebook. Geez, I'm even on TikTok. So I'd be interested to see where I show up for you next. Also, go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com. There are resources there that you can download. You can also get access to other resources and other episodes. So the episodes there on the podcast side of things, the episodes visually, so the video ones. And if you're seeing me, I'm waving at you on YouTube. Would love you to subscribe to all these things so you actually get the episodes as they go live each week. And until next time, stay passionate. My name is Russell Pearson, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Your Consulting Business Podcast. Make sure to click the subscribe button for future updates, and also make sure to go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com for goodies made especially for you by yours truly. I will see you on the site.